The bottom line is AI is here to stay. It's going to transform the way that we work, the way that we live, and we have to be really, I don't know if we need to be comfortable with that, but we need to be aware of it and help ourselves get the skills to engage in a world where AI is a partner with us.
Welcome back to In Residence. I'm Keith.
And I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's going on?
Today, I wanted to talk a little bit more about AI.
Okay.
We recorded an episode a while back around it. And at that point, I had no idea exactly what I was doing. I think you had dug into it more, and it was more conceptual and theoretical to me than useful and tangible.
Yeah.
And that was only how many months ago?
Right. I mean, within a year.
It's less than a year ago.
I mean, the big kerfuffle came when I think it was GPT-3.
Mm-hmm.
And then a month or a little more later, 4 came out. And then all these other platforms, large language models, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, they're coming out of everywhere and changing so much.
Yeah.
And I know it's been becoming more and more on your radar because you've been seeing people talk about it, like going to actual workshops on it and stuff, like for work, right?
Yeah. I've been hearing more and more conference presentations around AI, around the ethical use, around what does it actually mean. I read the book Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI by Ethan Mollick. And then I heard him speak at a conference as well.
Right.
About AI.
You were very energized after that.
Oh my goodness. And
I was like, right?
One of the pieces that I think is so important that he talked about is that the version of AI that we're using today is going to be the worst version of AI that we use.
Right.
That it's only getting bigger and better and be able to do more complex things. I'll be honest, when I started dabbling in AI and using it, I was doing it for things like there's a AI tool, Pi, that you can talk to. So sometimes I would talk to Pi on my commute to work. This is probably 9 months ago or something.
Okay.
And you could ask it questions like, can you give me some tips to help de-stress on my commute to work while I'm driving before a stressful day? And it would say, well, if you're driving, you need to pay attention to the road, but you can take some deep breaths. And it would tell me some things to do. Or can you tell me a joke? It would tell me a joke, right? But I was doing these things that were more transactional, kind of almost like a party trick. I hate to say that, but you know what I mean?
No, that's literally what I was thinking.
Were you?
Yep. I was thinking parlor trick.
Parlor trick. One of those. So I was dipping my toe in with those sort of pieces. And it made me think about back when the internet began to be a thing. And I was in high school. It was so exciting to be able to try and Google something of look up what a Cosmo is, look up what Mars is, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt so rudimentary compared to what the internet is now that you can find and search. Mm-hmm. And now AI is transforming that landscape again. Gary Vee put out an article today on LinkedIn all about artificial intelligence and how important it is for us to think about how do you engage with it and use it as a partner in your work, and just how bullish he is. And he's been bullish on AI for, I don't want to overstate it, I was going to say years, but he has a knack of seeing what is on the horizon and coming before a lot of people see it. And so I just thought it would be fun to talk about what ways you and I have both, how we've been using AI more recently, and then what are some ways that we can use it or see ourselves using it more in the future. And then maybe I thought it might be helpful for folks because it was helpful for me to talk about what the different types are and maybe some of the cautions around it too. I think that's just important to know as well. Is it okay if we cover those kind of topics?
Sounds good.
So I want to start quick and talk about the different types. Is it types or tools that you can engage with? So like Claude, for example, would you call that a tool or a platform?
I mean, it's a large language model.
A large language model.
There's probably other AI tools that are more geared towards coding. I don't know enough about the different types that are out there. I mostly use the large language models like Claude, Perplexity, which can use Claude, and some other engines or whatever you might want to call them.
Which I think is a pretty unique version of Perplexity.
Yes. So like a use case for me, like you and your sister wanted to make shirts for your dad for the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Celebrate his 50th race.
Yeah.
So you messaged me, she messaged me, need a little help. It's not quite turning out. The artwork's not turning out. I'm trying to use AI, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I jump into action and I'm like, okay, which model does this? It's ChatGPT. Well, I don't have a paid account for them, so I could only use so many. So I got what I got out of there. And then I realized like, oh, I do have a paid version of Perplexity. And I'm pretty sure you can select to use ChatGPT for that. So then I moved over to that and I was using it and I kind of finalized the design. But anyway, got kind of like a nice caricature cartoon image of him at the Indy 500 for this shirt that we made, right? So that's all I've really used ChatGPT for is image generation.
Sure.
Perplexity and some of the other, I use Perplexity with Claude or some of the other models to summarize our podcast.
Yeah.
I get the transcriptions out of Adobe and then I upload them into there and I say, hey, I want you to give me this, and this.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there's a whole lot I don't know about other use cases. I know people are using it to check code and to write certain code, but I have as much as I can kind of handle, because it's not really, I'm not into coding. And if I want to, I know that I can use AI to do it. So it's actually kind of cool. But
yeah, I know I've used ChatGPT similar to you for image creation. There was a trend on social media of creating toy figures, action figures of people. So I made some of me and one of Keith. Mine worked out pretty well. Keith's first version had 3 arms, one growing out of his hip.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was pretty funny.
Well, and then I used AI Photoshop in the Apple Photos app to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like another,
you could erase
I guess another version of AI that I use. I don't even realize it's AI because it's baked into these software programs like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop,
Canva,
Premiere Pro.
Yep.
A lot of these select and click and it cleans up something. That's AI.
Yeah. Which is pretty amazing.
The transcription of the podcast, that's AI doing it.
Yeah. So we're a Microsoft campus. And so I use Microsoft Copilot. I use that for a lot of different things, from summarizing documents, like long documents that I need to read, or long chains of emails, to summarize those really quickly. I also use Copilot. It will suggest different readability for PowerPoint presentations, layout, making sure it's on brand, simplifying the language. It really has become more of a partner with me in creating things than I ever really anticipated. The thing that it helps me save the most time on is when I have long email chains and I can ask it to summarize the email chain, and it'll give me a very succinct version of it with actual markers of where that is coming from. So you can go back and reference, okay, I need to know more about this. I can go right to it. So it's been a game changer.
Yeah. So there's lots of use cases, but what are you wanting to talk about here with AI?
Well, so I think it would be helpful to model maybe how people could use it in their day-to-day life, because the bottom line is AI is here to stay. And it's going to, or I anticipate from what I'm reading, it's going to transform the way that we work, the way that we live. And we have to be really, I don't know if we need to be comfortable with that, but we need to be aware of it and help ourselves get the skills to engage in a world where AI is a partner with us. I do think in the next 5-10 years, I mean, see the difference over the last year,
Yeah.
next 5 or 10 years, it's going to transform.
We won't even be having this conversation in 5 years.
No.
It's going to be so ingrained.
Like, we aren't talking about how we Google things today.
Right. I simply go to Perplexity. I downloaded the app on my phone, and I use that for anything that I would go to Google for that is important. I go to Perplexity, and I have a dialogue on there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be a simple search, but the only time I realized that I've used Google is to specifically look up something that I know 100% this is what I need to look at. Anything else, I go to YouTube, which is owned by Google, so it's not lost to me. Because that's usually what I go to Google for, is to find a link to a YouTube video. So why not just go to YouTube? They have a great search function. Yep. Second best search engine in the world.
Right.
But for Perplexity or Claude AI, that's more of I have a question and I want you, Perplexity, or whatever model I'm using to respond to me, because there's I think 8 or more that you can pick from now. I'll give it prompts of how to respond to me. And I'm learning this from people that are diving more into it, of you can tell it how you want it to interact with you, mm-hmm. or what you're looking for. Or for me with, hey, summarize the podcast episode. And I write in there as a prompt, I want this to be concise. I want it to be clear. And I don't need flowery language, because that's not how I write. Mm-hmm. And it does it anyway. Most of the time, it'll add some things that I like whenever I edit, writing with you or around you, you see me cross things out. We don't need really here. We don't need very. Yep. I don't need the superfluous language.
Yeah. And the one thing about AI that is also unique, you can tell it that, and it will get to know your voice.
It'll adjust
to you because you're training it. One thing I do want to say from a word of caution, if you're already using it, awesome. If you're just starting to use it, just a word of caution. Some of the models, specifically like ChatGPT, everything you put into it in the free version is not private.
Yeah.
So don't put things into ChatGPT that you don't want other people to see or to know, because they use it to train their models.
Anything that you would tell your kid to not share online with a Roblox buddy, don't put that into the little search box on any of these platforms.
Right. And I actually, so in preparing for this, I went on to ChatGPT and I asked it, what are 3 things that I use AI to do? And what are 3 things that I should be using AI to do? It started with a paragraph, a little paragraph that said, hi, you are a vice president that uses AI to do boom, 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 all these things. I'm so it's
got a dossier on you.
Yeah, it said, you're a vice president, you're doing this, your project is about a book on leadership in this, it had everything. You the Indy 500. I'm wait, what? And so it had a dossier on me, right? And I just used the free version. I don't put anything in there, my name or my location of where I work or anything like that. But that is just something to keep in mind.
I always assume, even if I'm using a paid version, that once it's out there, it's out there. So there's a time and place for certain things, but there's also a time and place to keep things private.
Yeah, exactly. you were talking a little bit about how you can interact with the model to help get a better refined response. I think that's called prompt engineering.
Yeah.
Right?
Asking AI a question, sometimes simply the act of asking answers my question because I have to be more clear about what I'm asking. And then if it goes to the next step of their response and it's not quite what I wanted, then I have to think of a better prompt and a better way of finding the information that I was searching for.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether or not I get the best answer right away, it's helping me process and think and become better at prompting so that, because do I want to sit there for 20 minutes getting the answer I want? No, not really. I'd rather have it soon. So like I have notes where I have prompts saved so I can just copy and paste. I want you to respond as if you're a professional with many years of experience coaching and consulting. And I want you to give me an answer that maybe I don't want to hear, but I need to hear. I can save that and just copy and paste it when I have a similar question. So I've started doing that. I've started engineering how I want them to respond to me. And that's where this is headed too, is like the better people can prompt it, the more secure they're going to be in, that fear of that everyone's like, we're all going to lose our jobs. It's like, well, you're going to lose jobs that AI can do, but you're not going to lose a job that AI can't do yet.
Right. Well, and so Gary Vee in the article that he posted on LinkedIn today talked about that job loss probably is going to be real. To your point.
It is with any technology.
Right. Because there's going to be shifts, but there are going to be opportunities. There will be new jobs that haven't been invented yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he talked a lot about AI as being really important of being the architect versus the mason. So if you think about, right, an architect is the one that designs the building, the vision is really thinking through how everything is going to fit together. He called them, I think, the thinkers. And then where the mason, really important job, but is actually going in and doing the work.
The labor.
And
Manual labor.
the doer.
Yeah.
So the AI, he was saying, is really going to potentially be able to use for doing some of those tasks that are more entry-level tasks. We need to think about how do we prepare ourselves to be the architect of not just accepting what has been done, but being able to think and connect it to things. Maybe one example, when we were at the Indy 500, we do a family prediction contest. And at the end of the race, we're often looking for the results of, what was the average race speed? Who improved the most places?
Who led the most laps? Yeah.
So we can total up who won the trophy this year.
Yep.
Well, you and I were both using the AI prompt in Google, I think.
I went to Perplexity.
You went to Perplexity. I went to the one that's just in the normal Google function.
Gemini.
And I got a result that so-and-so, I can't even remember who it was now. Oh, Plo, who won the race. Spoiler. Hopefully people know that if they wanted to by now. But Plo led the most laps with 20 laps. I'm like, that just doesn't sound right.
No, that's wrong.
And then you found somebody else too.
I found the right answer for that, but I got the wrong answer for
improve the most. Right.
And it would show where they started and where they finished. And I'm like, I can see by math skills that you're not giving me the right information.
Yeah. So there is that piece that although it can be really great for some things, you do need to check it and use your brain.
Trust but verify.
I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to give up our critical thinking skills.
Right.
I think the most important thing is this is a tool that's not meant to replace our brains. It's meant to kind of enhance in a way or allow us to use our brains to not take up all this load for things that I can pass this off over here because then I can use my energy in a better way, in a more efficient way, in this more creative way, possibly, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Things are shifting and changing. If you're not spending time using these tools, you're getting further and further behind every week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same as when we talk about anything where like the longer you wait, that inertia builds and it's harder to take that first step. So just be playful with it, like you were doing in the car. You were just playing with it and just like,
Yeah.
tell me a joke. Like that's something we did with Siri like 12 years ago.
Yeah. Or Alexa.
Yeah. Right? You just sent off a bunch of people's devices.
Sorry. Sorry, y'all.
But when's the last time you put a DVD into a DVD player?
Been a while.
25 years ago, we were spending $20 a disc. Now we're just streaming it on any device we want.
Yep.
Except for when they limit it to 2 devices only.
Yeah.
You know, and before that, it was a VCR.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like as Seth would say, Seth Godin, people that still have a VCR with the 12 flashing, they're not even having this conversation with us. Like they're never going to use these tools.
Or not knowingly until it's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Using them without knowing you're using them. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to turn into. Whereas the people that are probably listening to this are wondering, how do I embrace this and how do I use it to help me get where I want to go?
Right. Okay. So last summer, I went to a workshop that was all about data and how to develop key performance indicators. It was a really great workshop, and they spent a great deal of time talking about generative AI and how to prompt it as a partner in helping develop key performance indicators for a strategic plan. They gave us a Mad Lib for really helping lay out that role prompting or that prompt engineering we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So they started by saying you need to let it know who you are and who it is.
Yeah.
You use some examples. I've used that example quite a bit where I'll say, I am a vice president. That's why ChatGPT knows I'm a vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a data analyst. You are a marketing specialist. You are a legislative advocate, something like that. Then you tell it what you want it to do because you have a goal of what. Then they had us tell it specific context, so whatever context you have that it needs to know, and give it a list of what steps it should follow. The thing I thought was brilliant about this is the first step. It said, ask me any clarifying questions before completing the task. It was really a simple process of who are you? What is it? What do you want it to do? What is the additional context it needs to know? And what steps do you want it to follow? Making sure that first step is ask clarifying questions before completing any task or giving me results.
So you're like, instead of running through all the things and then you having to clarify because it didn't ask a clarifying question, right?
Yep.
Because sometimes it can take like 3 minutes if it's in depth, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll get a result back after doing that. It'll say something like, I don't have access to that data. And I'll say, you do, please use the iPed's database of publicly available information. And it will come back and say, okay, you're right, based on, And so sometimes you have to also remind the tool that it does have access and where you want it to go. You can add links, you can add documents. It's amazing what things you can have it do.
So have you started making sure you're doing that, prompting it with those cues of this is who I am, this is who I want you to be, and this is how I would like you to respond?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. I haven't always been as structured as putting it into a list of here are the steps I want you to take. But I have when it's really important that I want it to be a certain structure. There's some really great things that can happen from having that sort of structure and context. I also find that the tone, I do switch up sometimes what my role is or who I am, because I want it to sound or come from a specific, not archetype, but specific role or viewpoint.
Yeah. I just saw people having a conversation about how you can, in the back end, you can give it information you can create different personas for it, and you can click which one you want to be responding to you at a certain point. So I haven't looked into it, but I just saw people having a conversation about it. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to have to dig into that. And so it's like you can go and be like, okay, today I want it to respond to me like a teacher, or, tomorrow you come in, you're like, oh, I need it to respond to me like it's a policy expert or something.
Analyst. Yeah.
Oh, this can get really powerful in a micro way.
Yeah.
You get micro and get these macro results kind of thing.
Right. Well, and that's interesting to me too, because some of I don't want to say the parlor tricks or the games, I've seen people take a response and then say, okay, now do it in a sonnet. Now respond to me with the same information in a sonnet, in a haiku. Please translate it into Farsi, and it's amazing what it can do and is pretty darn good at doing. Okay, do we want to get into some of the ways that I've been using it?
Sure.
And keep this in mind, this is just ChatGPT and how I've interacted and what it knows about me at this point. So the top 3 ways that I've used AI, the first is content creation and editing. So I have used ChatGPT to help me craft either outlines or structure for personal projects that we have. Not the content itself, but the what perhaps a chapter might look like. So I've done it more in that way. What's interesting, and you're going to laugh at this, and I'm going to read it about how much it knows me. It says, this includes crafting thoughtful language, ensuring tone like kind candor, and polishing narrative flow. It included kind candor in there for me.
Funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It is a little like, whoa.
Yeah, it definitely knows you and the things that you know, kind of, or the things that you would remark on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used it. I'll put like a paragraph in and be like, does this make grammatical sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I know, but then I'm like, I might need to be a comma here or there, and like that's what I'll use it for. Basically, like a glorified spell check.
Well, one way I used it just in the last couple weeks, I was in the process of updating job descriptions. So a new role that's happening and a current role, but they had to nest in a way where one supervised the other. And I didn't want there to be duplication or overlap. And so I wrote the JDs myself, but then I put them both into Copilot and said, can you please give me a summary of what both of these positions is responsible for and what the relationship is between the two? Because I wanted to check myself.
Make sure there weren't any conflicts kind of thing. Yeah, that's smart.
Yep. And it said, it looks like this position reports to this other position. And here are the levels of responsibility. I'm like, that's exactly how I intended it to be. I thought that was pretty nice.
Very useful.
Mm-hmm. I've also used it if I'm getting stuck in language as well, of something not quite sitting right. I will put a sentence in and say, can you give me another way to say this sentence? And don't take exactly how it's written it. But I'm like, oh, that's the clunky part. And I like how that's worded differently. And so then I can use it to edit, kind of to your point. All right. The second way that I use it, it says, is around ideation and brainstorming. Really trying to brainstorm around themes or at the beginning I was using it to be like, what podcast episode should we talk about? What should our podcast name be? I think I used AI for that. And we didn't get very far. That was all us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that does help be a thought partner and kind of a sounding board for things. I do find that it often gives me back ideas and thoughts that are a little bit, they don't have a lot of pizzazz. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're just like a little flat or a little...
Well, like a lot, like an early adopter of this is Seth Godin, and he's been talking about AI in his blogs quite a bit. And I consume his blog, so I get his take on it a lot. It helps me think of like, yeah, I don't want to be behind using this technology. I want to be somebody that embraces it, and I'm a bit of a laggard with it. Like, I use it now, but it was a slow process of like, it was new, and I'm like, I don't know how to use it, and maybe I am a little afraid of like it getting to know too much of my information if I put stuff in, right? And so like hearing Seth talk about this tool and tempering people's fears, because you'll get these articles that are like, I think you just shared one with me, and just from glancing at it, it's like 10 to 20% of these types of jobs are going to be gone, and it's kind of fear mongering in a way. And then I'll go and read his blog, and he's like, well, people that used to dig ditches for a living or for the railroad, now they have the steam shovel, and so then they don't have to break their backs with manual labor. It's like, this is a version of that. And what brought this up was like, you're like, oh, it's a little stale, a little bland. It's like, yeah, AI is really good at writing mediocre copy. So are there some applications where you may want to use it? Sure. But what I find more beneficial is like, if it gives me something, then I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, that's not how I would say that. And I'm like, that's pretty bland, or that's too flowery. Like I said, like, I don't speak like that. So no, I don't like anything that I'm putting out. If AI had a hand in it, like our show notes, I write, this was written with the aid of Perplexity AI, because it's only using our voice and our transcription. It's like, we've already said all these things, and I'm just using it to like help me summarize it, because because I'll take forever to try to make it just right. It's like, well, I don't need it to be perfect. I need it to be adequate.
Right.
Because I've already said it, And so, yeah, like a lot of times I'll get responses where I'm like, if it was to like ask for like a summary of like the transcript, I still take time to rewrite it. And I'm like, oh, that's what it thinks are the main takeaways. I'm like, that's not what I thought while I was listening through and making my own notes, or sometimes I'm like, oh, it is what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, that's good that it's coming across, right? So more times than not, it's on the same page as me, but not saying it in the way that I want it to be said.
Right.
So I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Okay. And then well, wait, I'm going to take a little deviation.
Great.
If it's okay. So you were talking about the one article I sent you around, 10 to 20% of jobs going away, and
Only
how
thing I saw.
Well,
I didn't read it or anything.
It was a little dire, right? Really that AI is going to really hit all of those entry level kind of white collar, quote unquote, jobs, because it can do a lot of the things that entry level individuals have the skill and are learning to do and learn on the job. So what does that mean when you have like Microsoft laid off quite a few people and has said that AI could potentially substitute some of the coding expertise at the entry level? So what does that mean from a job market and development piece? One thing that Ethan Mollick talked about at the conference that I went to and in his book is about how important it is going to be that AI is infused into educational experiences. So students who are coming out of high school, community technical college, university, have the skills to not just use it to replace the work they're doing, but to be a partner with the work and to add value to what they're doing rather than just replace what they're doing. And that's going to take a shift, but I think it is one that many higher education institutions are looking at and are working towards, if they haven't already done the work, to make sure that students are getting that hands-on experience of using AI to complete projects, and not as a fear that AI will lead to cheating or academic integrity. There's those ethical concerns. But how do you teach students to use AI in their learning as a partner, and in their creation as a partner, not as replacing their creative work.
Yeah.
That was my little deviation. Okay. And then the third thing I use AI to do, according to ChatGPT, is I use it to write personal messages. It says personalized communication. So to help communicate things. You know me and my anxiety around writing posts for LinkedIn, for Facebook. When it comes to a blank card, a graduation or something like that, I'm like, I don't know what to say, Keith. And you're like, just write something. It'll be nice. I'm like, no, it won't.
Yeah.
I do use AI to draft something for me, and then I read it and write my own. So I don't copy and paste. I don't know how I feel about that. I use it as a base for my like LinkedIn post and also Instagram posts sometimes. And actually Gary Vee encouraged people to do that and see it as a tool, which I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track, but not to replace all my words, but to serve as like, oh yeah, that's a good way to say it, but I wouldn't say this, I'd say this.
It's the ball rolling.
Yeah, it gets the ball rolling. And then with handwritten cards, sometimes I'll do that. I'm like, oh, that's a nice way to say that or elevate what's coming out of my brain due to that anxiety of putting pen to paper sometimes. Especially if there's a time crunch, I get a little panicky.
A little frazzled.
Mm-hmm. So it picked up that I often ask it to partner with me to help get out of my own head.
Yeah.
But those are my top three.
Yeah, I definitely use it as a thought partner because I don't want it to replace my thinking or how I would say something.
Right.
But as a way to help me get to the end in a better way. What am I trying to say? It's more of like, let's say it's straight so we can say it great.
Yeah.
So there's not a fear or hesitation of me saying something poorly in the AI and hitting enter. I can ask any question, and even if I have a spelling error, it'll give me a response. So I can do that on there and not on like the pristine card that we want to put in an envelope for somebody, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's like a safe playground, right? There's like, not quite padding on the walls, but it's a much more robust and helpful way to get to the answer I'm looking for, is what I found. I guess the way that I got started was I was using like Google's Gemini before they even called it that. I can't remember what it was called. I was using all the free versions.
Yeah.
And I started using it enough where I was running out of the free credits in a day.
That happened to me yesterday.
Yeah, that happened. And then I was like, oh, I bet I could use this for our transcripts. What does it think the themes are that we're talking about that I can throw in the show notes? Because nobody really reads the show notes, but it's a nice way to have some text with the post on the website and stuff to just have it out there, because maybe somebody will read it, right?
Right.
And so I started doing that, but our podcasts were so long that it wouldn't let me have the whole transcript in there. And I'm like, well, that's not helpful. Then I'm editing out part of our conversation, so it's not getting the full context.
Yeah.
Then I happened to get the paid version of Perplexity in conjunction with Zoom, and I can do it over on this one, and it lets me use that much. I really enjoy it as a tool. I will probably continue to pay for it when that trial is up or when that free year is up.
Well, and I've been thinking about investing in one myself, just from a privacy standpoint. Not that I upload anything private, but say you wanted to upload a resume or a cover letter and have it give you some feedback. I don't know if you'd want to do that in the public version, personally.
Well, and it's nice just having it save my library of inquiries, and it's like my own journal of whatever I was thinking one day. Like it'll just be some random stuff, but it's helpful. I can always go back and search.
Yeah.
And then go in that thread if I want to keep that chain going.
Yeah.
I'm not even using it for all the possibilities there can be. I guess all I'm saying is like start small, and like whether it's Google's or ChatGPT or whatever, like just play with it and you'll probably find some good uses for it.
Exactly. want to hear about the 3 additional ways I could be using AI?
Sure.
It might give people some other ideas.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking.
Go for it.
It gave me some. Okay. So the first one was that I could do AI-powered presentation design, using AI to really make sure how I'm presenting PowerPoints looks great. I know it's in Canva. I haven't played with it a lot, but they also talk about tools like Gamma or Beautiful AI. There is also something called Napkin AI that is very focused on images and doing graphic mind maps and things like that. So Napkin AI, if anyone's interested in that, I played with that a little bit, which is kind of fun. Market research and audience insights is something it gave. I don't know how it would do at this, but it would be fun to play with it, but really making sure that we could analyze who our target audience is across platforms and figuring out how to reach more people, as well as summarizing our competitors, which I thought, I'm like, ooh.
That's definitely not something I'm going to spend my time doing.
No, I don't think it will, because you're just...
That's AI's job.
That's
Laura's job.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's kind of a interesting thing that you're right. I haven't done that. But anyway, that one. Then the third is to automate workflows and delegation support. I think I've done some of this, but draft email templates, create task checklists, and auto-generate agendas, and summarize meetings. I was recently at work in a meeting with an evaluator on a grant. Evaluators often will come in and they'll ask you questions about how are these key objectives of the grant going. And it was the first time I had been in a meeting where the evaluator said, I'm recording our conversation today for the purpose of using AI to summarize my notes so I don't have to take notes during our meeting and I can be present. Does anyone have concern with that? Ethically, I want to let you know that I'm recording and how it will be used. I thought, gosh, that is amazing from a standpoint of, I remember doing qualitative research, focus groups, interviews, typing every single word after listening back with my transcription pedal.
Yeah.
And to be able to use AI to do that, whether it's create an entire word for word transcript or create a transcript and create themes and summary notes, I just think about the amount of time that can be saved as long as it is getting the themes right. There is still a place in there for the researcher and the evaluator to determine those themes and confirm those themes. But I'm interested in what that means for the world of qualitative research and evaluation. And then the other is combining it with tools like, and I don't know Notion or Zapier, but Asana, which is a project management tool to reduce cognitive load and enhance team coordination. So really figuring out how things can connect. I recently, I almost said this weekend, I don't have my days right either. This week, I've been working on setting up and partnering with AI to develop a structure to help. I have a book project that I'm working through, and I use ChatGPT to help me ideate what is the best structure to use for writing and staying on time for my goal of completing a book. How do I set up using the tools I have? And so I said the tools I have are Google Docs and Canva. And so it actually gave me a whole way to set up in Google Docs a structure that can help me keep on track and monitor my progress, as well as link my Canva account to my Google Docs. So when I develop assets, I can have them all in one spot in Google. So I thought that was fantastic. Now I have to put it into action and see if it works. I was pretty jazzed that I didn't have to go back to what I've done in the past of looking at 50 different Pinterest boards and always coming up short and feeling like I understood what it was I needed to do. I even had trouble linking my Canva account to my Google Docs, and I told it, I'm having trouble figuring this out. And they're like, oh, it is kind of tricky. Here's where you go. And I'm like, yep, there it is. I thought that was nice because it's no longer me having to depend on somebody setting up a help function in a way that's really, really helpful and easy and clear. And then I'm getting to the right help function. Is it Google Docs or is it Canva? Where do I go? It cut through all of that and gave me that path because it can synthesize all that information and put it into a helpful response. Those were the 3 ways it said that I could be using it. Is there anything else that you want to talk about related to this?
Got nothing.
You got nothing?
Got nothing.
The only other thing I had queued up for today, I'll say this. Ethan Mollick's book, The 4 Principles of Engaging with AI, maybe just leaving it with those 4 big themes because I thought they were helpful and there's so much more detail in the book. I know you've read the book too.
No.
No? Oh, okay. So I'll just tell you about the themes because it zooms back out. We got really kind of in the weeds, but so the 4 themes or principles around AI. The first is to make sure that we're inviting AI to the table. So experiment with it, invite AI into various tasks just so you can understand as an individual what it's capable of doing and where it's limited. The second is to make sure that you are still the human in this loop, that you are maintaining human oversight and making sure that you're being ethical in the tool that you're using and that the outcomes it's producing are indeed accurate. Because AI is pretty good, but it's not perfect. You still need your human brain as that architect to come in and make sure that you can oversee it. The third principle is treating AI like a person. So like you said, assign it a specific role. Is it a coach? Is it a critic? Is it a data analyst? Is it a policy analyst? That will help enhance the interactions and the responses that you're getting. And then the fourth that I think is the thing that keeps playing in my head over and over again, always assume that the current AI version that you're using is going to be the worst that you'll ever use. So it's always going to improve. And so we have to stay adaptable to it, but know if it can't do something today, it might do something in the future.
Yeah. The thing I want to emphasize the most is to simply start playing with it. This is the worst it's ever going to be. And that's not an excuse to wait for it to be better. That's let's get in there and see what's already there. And maybe you'll get ideas and you'll interact with it in a way that makes it even better, faster.
Right.
Because I think that's why it is increasing in its capacity and abilities so much, is that people are starting to adopt it over the last couple of years. And it's better now than it was 3 months ago. And I've noticed a change.
Yeah, me too.
And then realize that, I probably need to get better too at how I'm prompting it. And so that kind of that cycle, it's gonna lead to exponential change. And there's things that I'm probably not even aware of that I can do with it that are going to come to light over the next few months that I'm hoping are going to help me, level up and maybe try some things that open some doors or windows into what I might be doing over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about it as a tool to help move me forward.
Yeah, I am too. And the more that you can get into it, the better you're going to be as well. People are doing so many cool things out there with it. Even this is just one more example, like data analytics. You still need to be the human in the room, I think, which is important. But you can have it take raw data and have it put together data visualizations, complicated statistical analyses, and you can see the code behind all that work, depending on the model you're using. So like ChatGPT, you can see the Python behind the analytic work that's being done. So it's just really cool. I'm excited to dig in more and more, and using it as that creative partner is a really good way to start.
Cool. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you for taking the time to talk about this today, Keith. I know I was a little overexcited, but it's been a hot second, and I feel like I understand more what it's capable of doing than I have before.
Yeah.
It's here to stay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Should we get out of here?
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
And this might just be me being paranoid. Be nice to AI. Don't be mean. If the computers rise up and take over, you want to be on their good side.
Right. But there's articles that say that saying thank you costs them money. Like, I don't care. I'm going to be polite.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I always say thank you. It seems to like it.
I don't want a Terminator 2 situation on my hands. So
No, I just tell it to be more succinct then.
Yep.
I want to have a good relationship with it.
Speaking of being succinct, should we get out of here?
I think we should.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Can't do it. I was trying to snap.